Hey everyone, hope you guys are well. So the stream is back on. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Unfortunately, I was just coming off of work, ready to enjoy the weekend. Probably going to work tomorrow as well, and lots of Premier League news today that I haven't reacted to in terms of how I've done so within a video. Crazy news, to be quite honest, in terms of FPL, with once again ramifications on fixture strategy and fixture planning. So that announcement of the double game week was very much shocking in terms of game week 32, and that being Newcastle Crystal Palace. I think when you're looking at the landscape now, there's genuine uncertainty compared to previous seasons where they've clearly shown a preference to want to, or maybe fast forward the fixture scheduling, and also to actually overbook some of the European midweek games, which we've classically not seen. And so we're in new uncharted territory, and I think that just requires a lot of us as FPL managers to kind of respect that and to approach our general play at this stage of the season very differently. I think if I can say going forwards, maybe I don't know what's going to happen for game week 34, but that could be a non-blank at all. So those kind of impacts I think are very severe, and I now think that you could probably just commit to a strategy, and that's actually maybe one of the best possible options right now. Just committing to a free hit strategy, just committing to when you want to bench boost loosely, committing to when you want to AM, right? We now have another game week where you've got 5 fixtures in an AM window, and that's going to be 32-33 where you have the doubles. And that's very, very significant. So what that also means is the value of the bench boost has been diminished, because you're taking one of the doubles that was pretty much, I would say, 90, close to 100% guaranteed. You're taking that out of 33. So you're reducing the overall ceiling, I suppose, of bench boost. Yes, of course, maybe a Newcastle game could fit in there now, but now we also know fixtures can be moved in many different ways. So let's just go into content. Kim, hope you're doing well. Bench Wood, JP, or Eze. I'd probably bench JP because I actually think that Wood and Eze is going to start. There's uncertainty with João Pedro. Why would you even deal with that uncertainty if you can choose to avoid it nicely? And you've got better players than myself in terms of bench and all that kind of stuff. Dry Beef Rice, nice to see you. Valentine, hope you're doing well. Really appreciate you being around. Mal, you're talking yourself into going AM 31-33 instead of 25-27. I think it makes sense, my friend. I mean, you're like, if we think AM is the best chip, and yes, of course, maybe you have to bench boost on 36 if we still have a double there. We might not have a double there, right? That's something that could generally happen this season. That's a possibility, but I think still putting yourself in the best position to actually have the best AM usage is the thing that I would prioritize this season. And if you have to single game week bench boost as a result of it, so be it. So I would definitely commit to AM 31-33 loosely right now. I think that's the play. So and once again, congratulations on your season so far. Really lovely to see you do well, and I hope it continues. Henry, your FPL season's been kind of rough so far. I'm just gonna see up on. I mean, look, my season's been pretty bad too, Henry. But thank you so much for being a supporting member of the channel for so long. Almost 3 years now. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well in all things, and all the best. Hayden, thank you so much for the super chat. I can't really see a message, Hayden, so do let me know. But thank you guys so much for the support. I really, really, really appreciate it. It's been a pretty busy work week, not even just work week in general, but just work weeks or months. And hopefully it ends next week. That's kind of the plan, loosely speaking. In terms of chat, rolling back into that, let's see what the chat is saying. By the way, I've actually made my moves already. I just wanted to say. I guess maybe we didn't even speak on it, but I went Bruno -4 into TROSSARD, as I said, within my team selection. So thank you guys so much for joining the deadline stream. Happy Valentine's to everyone as well out there. Victor, you too. Hanny, thank you for your chat. Hi, who to start, Housen or Robinson? I'd probably go Housen, my friend. Kim, nice to see a Belgian in your team. Hopefully TROSSARD. I know he doesn't play extremely well for Belgium, but hey, hopefully he does well for me and for Arsenal. Best forward enabler under 6 million. It's probably still Raul, because there's there's a little bit of uncertainty with João Pedro. There's obviously natural uncertainty with Raul in terms of how good Muniz is as a replacement, but I'd still probably actually say it could also be better, right? It could also be better. Just because he's so cheap. And maybe that actually is something that you need. Bobby Moe, TROSSARD it is. Here we go. Absolutely. I really was considering a different move. So I was considering something like Bruno to Nwaneri, and then, as I discussed in my video, something like NDI to Watkins. Now, I think that João Pedro's position in the team isn't completely lost, which is kind of why I'm holding on to the idea that keeping João Pedro can be fine. I might be wrong on that, and I might have to make transfers out, but I still have some money in the bank after the TROSSARD move to be able to kind of rectify the situation. We're not going to be going into anyone who's quite expensive after this week. Like, the value of Watkins is just going to be gone for me. So when I talk about players like, let's say, Cunha, when I talk about players like maybe, I don't know, even Wisa, for example, who I've already mentioned for this game week as a good transfer, these are all players that I can afford from one free transfer from NDI, which I think is fine. Thoughts on free at 29 versus 3 at 34 with the double gaming 32 announcement. Yeah, my concern, Matt, was actually how they do fixture scheduling on Gaming 34, right? Because it could be the case that in the future, blank Gaming 34 isn't a blank game week, and we could even see the way that they schedule fixtures in that intended blank is to actually just reallocate them within the midweek of 34, where you have those European games. So if we actually look at the schedule, right? If you look at the schedule for 34, so you see how we have a... You see how we have, let's say, this gap here between 33 and 35. It could be possible that some of the fixtures could just be reallocated, right? All the fixtures here get played on Saturday. Who says you can't suddenly play a game after this, or let's say before this as well, to kind of reschedule your 34 game? That could be something that could generally happen. Thoughts on Ahmad to TROSSARD? I quite like the move, but one of the reasons why I've gone TROSSARD is because I am, at the end of the day, coming from Bruno for a hit, right? So the value, I suppose, of making that move is that I still have money in the bank to make some other moves. When you're going for a move like, let's say, Ahmad to TROSSARD, you're spending a bit more money. And I do think that at the same time, players like Dango or Kluivert actually provide arguably similar or just slightly less value than TROSSARD, and they could actually be better. So it's really up to you. I wouldn't say that TROSSARD is like a one-size-fits-all amazing pick. Jay Wavy, thank you so much. Welcome back to being a manager. Really appreciate you being around. Thank you so much for the support as well. Humza, thank you for the super chat too. Didn't activate AM last game week. Do you think I should hold this week, or do you think I should this week? If so, who? Or hold for later? I would hold for later. As far as the best Bournemouth mid, I mean, I personally think Kluivert's the safest mid, right? His ownership's extremely high. He does cost the most, maybe for fair reasons, but I think that Dango's still the pick that I would go for. There's a risk factor there, right? Where Dango's ownership is probably the least. He costs the least, and he'll probably actually give you that value back and more. So I do really like Dango a lot. Yes, of course, we know Evan Nilsson might come back at some point, but we're also loosely planning to wildcard in the not too distant future. Semenyo is the safest mid, but I don't understand why people are so scared about going for Dango and Kluivert. I don't see what the need for safety is. If you look at Kluivert and Uatara's minutes, they've been great. The only player close to coming back is Sinisterra. Right now, Tavernier is struggling to get minutes, and all he's taking minutes away from is someone like Brooks. Jebison, sure, he could take some minutes away from Uatara, but I just don't see it. I think they're completely different qualities of players in terms of level of players, so that's quite significant. So I think for me, Semenyo is still actually the worst pick to go for right now from Bournemouth, even though he's a solid pick, right? At the end of the day, all the Bournemouth mids are very, very good. I think I should probably start from that. But when you can kind of get your pick of the litter, and who isn't to say that there's been a bit of a change in the guard, right? We've seen, for example, at earlier points in the season that Kluivert wasn't probably suited towards the team's needs. Now he's kind of their highest functioning player. You never know how managers sometimes react to that. It's not always going to be the case where they revert back to what we saw at the start of the season, because the importance of certain players can change as the season goes on. Like, for example, Dango was not starting at left wing at the season, and now he can kind of play center forward or left wing, and Semenyo can clearly play both wings. Those kind of things are quite significant. And even though players are coming back from injury, right now that sort of trident, plus, of course, the right winger in the current team, is probably the best way to play. So I can only see, for example, Sinistera taking minutes away from some of the other ancillary players, including Tavernier, and I don't see such a huge impact on the other more Bournemouth mids that are a little bit riskier than the technically safest Semenyo. Wood versus Bumo to start. I'd probably just go Bumo personally, but once again, this is a question about risk appetite, right? If you are scared to go against a 70% or 50% owned Wood, I don't know what it's going to be like this week, but it's going to be very, very substantially high. So if you're scared against going against Wood, then you need to factor that in as well. Saleh, thank you so much for your super chat. GW25, Pickford, Robinson, Howson, Trent, very, very strong. Palmer and Bumo, Kluivert, Jacob Ramsey, interesting. So that's a differential. Mateta, Isak, Sub, Verbruggen, Gakpo, I know Colwill. I think it's okay to bench Gakpo. I mean, that kind of is you committing to the idea that Gakpo is going to miss out on let's say the on the Wolves game, sorry. I would probably play Gakpo at the end of the day over Mateta, but I think it's up to you. Ramsey's a very interesting differential though, so best of luck to you with that. Klingon says, hey Fran, Ahmad to Nwaneri to fund Emery. I actually really like that move. I think that's fine. If you could do Ahmad to Dango and still get Emery, I would prefer that. But if it has to be Nwaneri, then I still think it's worth doing so. The question is, though, is it to fund Emery in terms of activating the AM chip, or is it actually to just make a transfer? Yala, happy Valentine's to you as well. Should I activate my system manager this week? I still think delaying it right now because of the fixture kind of scheduling changes is better. I don't think AM25 is as appealing as it was last week, right? Last week, when I was looking at the fixture landscape, I did not think there was going to be a double game week 32. So, David Duke, thank you so much for joining as a member of the channel. I did see your YouTube comment earlier. Really, really appreciate the support. Welcome to Manager. Harv, thank you so much for sending the super chat through. Start JP or Beto. Look, Everton are looking pretty good. JP's minutes could look suspect in the short term. I would definitely just start Beto. John Wick says, hi, Fran. Thoughts on Ahmad? And also, I mean, Beto now is on penalties, right? NDI is out. Beto's arguably better than we actually previously thought. So are Everton, right? Everton under Moyes have been very good. Start JP or Beto, so yeah, Beto. John Wick says, hi, Fran. Thoughts on Ahmad to who? I'm thinking Kluivert. Kluivert's fine. I think Dango's fine as well if you want to spend that sort of money. Mihaly says, hello, Fran. Am I not wanting to sell Bruno for Dango to upgrade NDI to Watkins? I still like Bruno and plan to get Cunha later for NDI. Yeah, well, I think that then if you kind of don't like the idea of selling Bruno, then actually the move that is similar to me, I suppose, is quite like, I mean, you'll probably on a similar, you'll probably be on a similar path to me, right? Where I'm going Bruno to TROSSARD, that frees up enough money for me to go NDI to Cunha eventually. I don't know exactly what you're going to do to kind of get there in terms of the cost gap between Cunha and NDI, but I think it's totally fine to bypass Watkins this week. Part of the reason why I didn't go for Watkins myself within this game week is, I mean, I'm already invested into Rodgers. I have a lot of outfield players who play in game week 29. If it's the case that I don't free it on 29, then going for Watkins is going to make my team a little bit worse, even though arguably I am trading someone who's blanking already in game week 29 because of the NDI injury. I think that the big difference, though, is that I could still bring in a player in the future without taking a hit that will sort of replace NDI, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about in my head. I think the hit for Watkins is quite significant too, right? Whether you have to take a hit or not. If it's a free transfer situation for you, I would probably just go Watkins because I think it's basically what I would call house money, and you're kind of betting for free. So yeah, really depends, right? I'm in a situation where I'm taking hits to get into Watkins, and I think you could be in a much more luxurious position than me. It could be better. Are you planning on moving Trossard after West Ham? No, I don't think so. I think actually the Arsenal fixtures are fine, right? Nottingham Forest aside, the fixtures after that actually look really good. Up until maybe, let's say, a wild card on 30, 31, 32. So yeah, I think Trossard is totally fine as a pick. And my plan anyways is to actually just transfer Rodgers out, and I'll probably be moving Rodgers into a Bournemouth midfielder. Who I will move into is really just up to me. Monk says, are you planning on... Sorry, I literally just read that. John Wick says, Gordon, Palmer, Kluivert, Wood, or Gakpo. I'd probably bench... It's between Wood and... It's between Wood and Gakpo for me, because I still think that Gordon at the end of the day is a really, really good fixture. Like City, their expectations for me just have really dropped. So I would probably just pick based on... I'd probably just pick Wood because I think there's more certainty there. I mean, who knows? Gakpo could be in a situation where he just comes off the bench for one game, and the other game is going to be a tougher Aston Villa game. Whereas Wood, at least you guarantee 90 minutes. As far as benching Wood or Wisa, I'd probably actually play Wisa, but that's because my general risk appetite is higher. it goes back to questions, of course, of whether you're willing to have a 70% owned player within your team on the bench. Mal says he's going to do Gakpo to Watkins for free. I think that's a fantastic move if you can do that. I think that's such a great move. Once again, if you can go to Watkins for free transfers, do it. Lucas says, Fran, can't really decide if doing this -8. Mbeumo, Dango, and DI Watkins. You got Kluivert already, but don't want to play João Pedro. I don't think you necessarily need to do a -8. I wonder if there's any players in your team you can probably keep. I mean, it is quite aggressive. What I'm trying to think is, could you... I guess you'd have to play João Pedro in all instances, but then it's a -8 to just bench João Pedro, if I could characterize that properly. And then, of course, it's Watkins, who is quite good. I think, look, if I could put it within the context of my team, right? I had the opportunity, I guess, to take an additional -4 to just sort of seat João Pedro, and I didn't take that opportunity, whereas you're taking -8. I probably wouldn't take that -8 because I just don't think it's worth it. Like, sure, maybe João Pedro doesn't play. I'd imagine that you have one defender that you can play at least. If you really don't believe he's going to play. I think it's more than likely João Pedro starts, but I could be completely wrong and I could look like an idiot. But I'm happy to look like an idiot. John Wick says, oh, I've read that already. Do you think I'd start Gordon or Isak? I'd start Isak every day of the week. OP Talent says Gordon to Dango -4 or play Gordon. I'd just play Gordon, personally. I'd play Gordon. It is a nice game week to make these kind of -4s. But I think, for example, when we're talking about someone like Gordon, who... Unless you're, like, in my case, right, the reason why I had to make a Bruno to TROSSARD move is not necessarily because I think Bruno is an inherently bad asset, but more specifically because the reason why I've gone from Bruno to TROSSARD is to enable myself to actually go from Moyes to Emery. If you're actually in a position where all you're doing is taking a -4 to get a Bournemouth midfielder, I probably would actually just reject that idea on that base premise. Hayden, thank you so much for the super chat again. Wood to Watkins for -4, start Hall or Castagna. I actually think that's a decent -4. But that's a big gamble, right? You're selling one of the most highly owned players in the game. So I think that's... I do like it, though. And I would definitely start Castagna over Hull, because I think if I can give credit to Man City, despite how I see them so poorly on defense, is that they're actually still very much a strong offense. Majed says, assuming Gakpo plays Villa, should I keep him in by Emery or take the -4 and bring Cunha in slot? I quite like Cunha in slot, to be fair. Because I think one of the things to point out with Gakpo, too, is, I guess, if you go for... It is a -4. I would actually probably just go Emery, thinking about it like that. It didn't seem like the Gakpo injury was very, very severe. And I think, you know, he's still going to play minutes within this game week. And it's not like Cunha, for example, has a good fixture. So it's kind of Cunha for a -4. And I don't think the difference between, let's say, Emery and slot provisionally is going to be, let's say, anything more than 1 point before the deadline, right? So, of course, the outcome with Emery and slot can be absolutely crazy. And of course, they affect each other's outcomes, which means that there's going to be a difference, exactly like last week with Moyes and slot. But what I would say now, based on our predictions, our understanding of how the fixtures can go, the probabilities, I'd still just go with Emery for now. Bobby says, and thank you so much for the super chat, Bobby, should I go Dango and Watkins or Kluivert and Wissa? I'd go Dango and Watkins quite easily. Just because Watkins has a double, I'll take that chance every time. John Wick says Robinson, Nico Williams, and Mikalenko to start. I'd probably actually go Robinson. I tend to back the home player there. Just going to put the spam in timeout. Everyone gets a chance to sort of get their messages read. Hey, Fran, what's your thoughts on JP to Watkins? I think that's a great move if you can do it in one free transfer. Even for a hit, arguably, I think that's okay. I was considering it myself. I just thought it was a bit tight with me going to an area and then provisionally. Trossard didn't sleep, you're cooked. I'm so confused. Is that just the joke about his sort of concentric eye circles? Hey, Fran, what's your thoughts on JP to Watkins? I think that's a very strong move. Which Bournemouth mid should you go for? Like Kluivert for me is the safest option in terms of risk, right? The idea that he's the highest owned player. But I would actually go Dango right now. And I still think that his minutes are going to be safe and secure for most of the windows that we really want him for, which is basically heading up to 31. Thoughts on Ahmad to Rodgers? I think that's a strong move. Is everyone captaining Salah? Yeah. I mean, there's not even a chance that I'm going anyone else. It's just he's way too far apart. He's probably 2 times better than any other possible player for this game week. Maybe except for Watkins, if Watkins plays an excessive amount of minutes. FPL Cal says start 2 out of Wisa, Gordon, Gakpo. I'd probably bench Gakpo in that situation. Play Iwobi or Murphy. I would just play... Honestly, I'd play Murphy. I'd take my chance with Man City, and it's not like they have that much depth right now, Newcastle, so he should be allowed to play a lot of minutes. If both possible, Emery or Slot, I'd go Slot. Right? Like, if I had the chance, I'd go Slot. But I've got triple Liverpool, and I'm very much happy with triple Liverpool. Hence why I've gone for that sort of path of Moyes. Isak to Watkins for a free. I think that's also a very, very strong move. I know, like, there's a team value aspect to it. I think there's a chip strategy aspect to it as well. So you do need to consider that too. Am I going Watkins? No, I'm not. Would you sell Gakpo or keep him? I would probably sell Gakpo in most cases, because I just think that, yeah, you're not actually looking at a lot of value if he misses out on the Ipswich game. And then at that point, it's not even a good fixture, right? It's just in isolation. And who's to say that he's going to suddenly clock 90 minutes versus Aston Villa? So you're already kind of looking at a pretty poor game week from that perspective. Eze to TROSSARD for a -4. I wouldn't do it for -4 because it seems like Eze's going to start. So I don't see really the value of the -4. Like for me, as I said, I'm taking -4 just so I can get my assistant manager out there and playing him, but I wouldn't do it in most cases. Hall to Kirkes, I think that's a strong move. Best Gakpo replacement other than Watkins. I think Wisa's quite strong this week as well as a transfer. Hey, Fran, João Pedro, Ahmad. I'd probably actually go Ahmad because I think security minutes is quite significant for this game week. Thank you guys so much for joining the chat. Really, really appreciate it. If you guys could like the stream, that would really help support, and even subscribe as well. That really helps take the channel to new heights. And sorry, once again, that I have been a little bit inactive for this week. It's just been super busy with work, but I hope to be coming back strong in terms of creating content next week onwards. Gakpo, Isak bench. I'd probably bench Gakpo, Bruno, Wisa, Wood, or Munoz. In terms of who to bench, if that's who to bench, I'd probably actually bench Wood. I'm on to Rodgers for a -4. I don't think that's worth it as a free transfer, if I'm honest. Which Bournemouth mid should I go for? Got money for any? I'd probably still go Kluivert if you want a safe option in terms of risk. If not, I'd just go Dango for the upside. Lewis to Disasi or Housen. I'd probably just go Housen. I think that Housen kind of makes you a little bit more fixture proof in terms of strategies and future transfers sort of being saved. So I would take the opportunity to just go Housen. -4 for Verbruggen out for a goalkeeper. Why are we taking -4 out of Verbruggen? Have I missed something? Gakpo to Wisa. I think Gakpo to Wisa is a strong move. Hey, Fran, hope you're doing well. Gakpo to Beto and Ahmad to Rodgers / TROSSARD for -4. I don't know if that's worth a -4, if I'm honest, right? It's not like Everton have an amazing game, so that -4 I feel like isn't really worth it. Triple captain Salah is wonderful. If you guys haven't triple captained, if you haven't assistant managered, I would just go for it. Who's your assistant manager? I think Emery or Slot are really your only realistic options. If you really want like a kind of far out option, a single game week option, then Marco Silva I think is also one of the better options this game week. Start Gakpo or Wisa. I'd probably actually start Wisa, guarantee of minutes, and a pretty good game. Start Robinson or JP. I'd start Robinson. I think Robinson obviously, look, at the end of the day, I have to say, yeah, a lot more attacking than Castagna. I guess the threshold moves the needle a little bit more. And in that case, I'd probably start Robinson. Einer for Housen, I think that's a decent move. Gakpo or Wood, I'd play Wood, I think, in most cases. Hey, Fran, do you know why I can't activate my assistant managership? I used triple... There should be no reason why you can't use the assistant managership. Is it because you don't have any money in the bank right now or something like that? Housen for Einer? Yeah, I understood that. I think, yeah, going Housen in right now makes sense, and selling Einer as well. Victor... have you transferred in a manager and transfer window after activating? Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I guess you have to actually like lock in a certain move, right? And please choose the correct manager the first time round. You're not allowed to change that unless you want to take a -4 to give yourself that sort of flexibility. Apparently there's some Man United rumors. Let me have a look into it. Nah, never mind. Is there a player who's sick? That was the rumor. Triple captain and solo locked. I think that's a fantastic move. Thank you guys so much for joining the chat. 2 minutes left until the deadline. A little bit under that as well. So do lock in your moves as soon as possible. Should I start Housen or Elanga? I'd start Housen. I mean, Sard to Kluivert at -4 I think is totally fine as a move, but I'm going to put you in timeout because you're spamming the chat. Gordon to Noneri and Ndiaye to Watkins, I think that's a fantastic double. I think that's really good. Like, I was going to do that move for a -4, right? And so if you can do it for a free, I think that's fantastic. More spam in the chat isn't going to get you answers. I think if you're making a transfer this week, I'd rather go for a Bournemouth defender over Munoz still, because it doesn't really commit you to Game Week 29 and another blanker specifically. Gordon to Trossard, I think is a strong move. Start Ahmad or Raul. I would probably start Ahmad. Kepa as a transfer, I think makes sense. Yeah, if you're actually trying to change your goalkeeper around, Kepa makes sense. Arguably even Jorgensen makes sense. Munoz or Housen? I'd go Housen. Brian Richmond, thanks, Fran. No questions, just a thank you. I really appreciate that, Brian. All the best to you this week. Very, very good luck to yourself. This is probably actually a suitable time for yourself, I guess, if you're based in the States. So a nice little sort of evening deadline for me, probably still during working hours for you, and happy Friday to yourself. Thank you so much for supporting. Noneri or Wisa? I'd probably go Noneri. Pedro Munoz? I'd play Munoz quite easily. Noneri or Wisa to start? I'd do Noneri to start still. -4 to move out from Gakpo and into slot. I think that's worth a -4. But if you can just go Emery for free, I think that's actually a really good move as well. MPass 87. Gordon to Trossard for a -4. Guys, that's it. That's the deadline. I hope we made our moves. I would like to have a green arrow, but I'm going to be completely honest myself. I'm not expecting much this game week. It's still looking pretty dire for myself. I would love the chance for Emery to get a little bit of upside versus Liverpool. And, you know, let's see what happens. As far as content, I know I promised a couple of videos. I really would like to get the What We've Learned video out on a Sunday. So I think I'll be working on Saturday at this point. And look, let's see what happens with João Pedro as well. I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted that sort of Trossard money in the bank, and I could have gone Dango for sure, but I think the idea right now is this Rodgers position is quite flexible, right? It could be a Bournemouth midfielder, it could be Nkunku. Let's not completely get upset about the idea of going for Nkunku. Yes, he was absolutely terrible for us at the start of the season, but if they don't have any bodies and they don't have any other players to play in the center forward position, why not just take the chance? It's not like they're going to sell him until the end of the season. They probably need to sort of window shop him in a way too, and not completely devalue him, as they have done with some other assets like João Felix, etc. So let's see what happens there. As far as João Pedro, yeah, Rutter's playing really well. We'll see what happens. If I have to make a move, for example, next week to go for another striker, then so be it. At the end of the day, it also depends on what strategy I'm going for. So one of the things, as I said this week with the Double Game Week 32 coming out, is the implications on how I see rearrangements further down the line. It's very possible that we can see very, very odd rearrangements, that we don't see them put into the classical windows that we've seen, because that's already been done. So that's kind of why I'm actually looking back into Free at 29. I'm quite interested with it. Can you use the chip while using a system manager? No, you can't. Thanks, Fran, for the wisdom. You too, your Paps, have a good weekend. Same to everyone else. Thank you, Oisin. Yasin as well. Appreciate it. Pens down. Yes. -8, Emery, Kluivert, and Kirkes for Moyes, Eze, and Hall. I think that's actually quite strong. And Bobby, thank you so much for supporting the stream. Appreciate you guys. Take care. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the football. I'll be watching Brighton and Chelsea in approximately an hour and 30 minutes. And yeah, take care, guys. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourselves.